Hey, beautiful people. So last evening I was listening to the Prime Minister speaking. I don't know if it was yesterday he was speaking at some sort of a press conference or before in fairly recent times. And, basically, I'm going to expound on it and expand it, when he said, if you vex us, if you vex, you vex. If you want to believe, you believe. I suppose he has reached that point because people are basically saying they have done nothing. He mentioned the whole thing about, the wage freeze that under the People's National Party, 10 years ago, that there was a wage freeze. And since their inception from 2016 to present, that, increases have happened. Some say all the way up to 100% for the regular Joe, the regular public sector worker, over the period. 20% in fairly recent times, as we know, while a select few get 100% increase, 200% increase, 300% increase, but they are doing things, you know, um, and it is, I think it was he or somebody else had mentioned about the MPs, because they were showing the bad roads, about the MPs need to get the approval for whatever so that they can start to conduct work in their constituencies and so on. I hope that is done. I would love to see mine, you know, to come and do some work, and and in other neighborhoods. One of the realities, though, sir, is that if people are not feeling the changes that you are mentioning, it is either people are really naive and blinded, or they are ungrateful, or the change is not really effective enough. Let me give an example. If you have a baby, a months old baby, and you feed the child once per day, yes, you have fed the child, but it's not going to be sufficient. Chances are the child is going to develop a lot of complications. Apart from crying his or her heart out, they're going to develop a lot of complications because they would have not been given sufficient food. After a certain time, then malnutrition will set in. So you can't just feed the child once per day, the baby once per day. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm using that analogy to say that even if it is that you say you're doing things for the Jamaican people, sir, it has to be something that is effective. It has to be things that are efficient, that makes sense, that is punching holes into the different deficits and the different decadence and the different, defects that people are facing and the country is facing. They will have to make an indelible mark on it, or hopefully an indomitable mark, in the lives of the Jamaican people. And one of the fundamental ways is that they need to be able to keep more monies in their pockets. And I'm not talking about them being poor stewards. Again, stewardship and financial literacy has to be taught, just as how learning literacy was. So don't blame them too much if they slip. If you don't know a thing, you don't know a thing. You can't know what you don't know. Right? But at the same time, we must have fairness and justice. You can't give a select few 100%, 200%, 300% increases on salaries that were even better than those who would have got the 20% increase. That makes no sense. So, for example, let's just say you have, the select few who get the 100%, 200%. Before they got the 200, let us say that their monthly salary was $800,000, per month. Gross, or is net, which I always mix them up. Gross is before tax. Let us say net. Let us use net. And then they get 100%, 200%, 300% increase on $800 or $1,000,000 per month take home. How do you rationalize giving another set of people 20% increase when their monthly salary is 100,000, 200,000, maybe 300,000 per month? How do you rationalize that? You see what I'm saying? So even with getting the increase on those that are earning 100%, 100,000, 200 or 300,000, it still it still hasn't even gone halfway to the ones who are earning 800 or $1,000,000 per month. And that is before the increase I'm talking. I was just giving a hypothetical figure. So you see the disparity between the rich and the poor is vast. It is too big. It is the same gulf that was presented between Dives and Lazarus. But this time, Dives wasn't on the right side. He really wasn't on the right side. You understand? So you have to make an indelible mark in the lives of the Jamaican people. You know, self-praise, as they would always say, is no recommendation. I understand if it is. The other party can say that they did something, they did this, they did that. But if it doesn't make an indelible mark in general across the board, then it speaks to leadership, it speaks to accountability, it speaks to stewardship. How well are the resources being stewarded for the Jamaican people? The average Jamaican should be able to buy a decent house and a decent car, not a container home, unless they want to do it for business purposes. You know, or some squeeze up house. Don't get me wrong, I believe that if you get a place, hopefully you have somewhere where you can expand, especially if you have a family. But good God, you can't be living in something that is great and grandiose and they just live in a squeezy thing. That's unfair. That's not fairness. That's not justice. That's not good. So it's not a matter if them want to vex them vex, or if them want to believe them believe. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of what is the reality. If the leadership is not 80%, and I say 80% because we are imperfect beings, 20%, will speak to faults. If the leadership, if there's no accountability at 80%, then we're in trouble. If stewardship of the resources and the people and managing of the people is not at 80%, then we're certainly in for a terrible ride. It means that decadence will now be the order of the day. Deficits, financial deficits will now be the order of the day. People's suffering will be the order of the day. Chopping and scamming, oh God, that would definitely be reigning the order of the day. Stealing, trickery, all of the negative things that you can think of will be the order of the day. And we can't afford it. And crime and violence, oh Lord, they're just going to shoot through the roof. And then we just, it's a never-ending cycle of decadence, of mayhem, of sadness, of despondency, of no growth. By and large, productivity is not great in our country. Because there are, effective leadership. People who shouldn't even be leading are leading, People who are CEOs, people who are managers, people who are whether general managers and supervisors and so shouldn't be in the positions. They're a complete misfit. They're complete poor leaders. Some of them are evil and wicked, Jezebels. We can name them all. And those who are below should be probably in those positions where they can do well. Remember Saul and David. Productivity, by and large, in our country is poor. We're not coming out. It's like we're stuck at third place. You notice? We're a developing country. Third world country. Third world. Third. Lord, we can't come out of the bronze yet. We can't even see silver. But I love to hear so we're second world. Even second. I tied for the third world. Developing. Years ago, the late great and the very esteemed and notable, the eminent Dr. Miles Monroe, the most brilliant preacher speaker, I call him, in our 21st century, stated that, and this was years ago, and how many years he had died, he has died, and he said that for every $100 the Jamaicans earn, 50 is taken out. That he was saying that is sure way to poverty. Years ago, he said it, and he does his studies. That's a brilliant man. That's a man who read the Bible for 37 years every year, from Genesis to Revelation, and 4 books per week or every 2 weeks or something like that. Or per month or however often. When I tell you he was so brilliant, it's an understatement. That's sad. That ratio is mad. For every 100 you earn, 50 is taken out and goes to the state. So it's a sure way to remain poor and pauperized. So sir, it's not really say if you vex, you want to vex, or if you want to believe, you want to believe. And more than just that, sir. You have to make an indelible mark, make a dent in the debts of the people. Make people earn more, give people 100% increase in their salaries. The public sector workers 100, increase their salaries, increase it significantly where it makes sense. And give benefits too. Fair change, give bonuses too. to the public sector workers. Guys, follow me on TikTok, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this message.